This episode of Infiltrate Radio Podcast is brought to you by our amazing sponsors. Podbean is an easy and powerful way to start a podcast. Everything you need for a successful podcast. No difficult technology to learn. For our listeners only, go to podbean.com/infiltrate radio and get your first month of podcast hosting absolutely free. Again, that link is podbean.com/infiltrate radio. The show is also brought to you by Akioka Pet Boutique. Use the link posted on our Facebook page with the link to the show and use code InfiltrateRadio25 at checkout, and you save 25% on any purchase from Akioka Pet Boutique. All your pet supplies, toys, etc. So again, go to the link on our Facebook page, click on it, and use code InfiltrateRadio25 at checkout and save 25% on absolutely any purchase. In addition, we'll post the links to any products we talk about during the show, such as the drinks we're enjoying or any other items we mentioned. So if you really want to help us out and support the show and keep us going, click on any of those links we post, and the show gets a portion of the purchases that you make. So you get drinks, you get products, you help to keep the show going, and we get to not be living out on the street. So again, just click on any of the links in on any of our posts that typically go to Amazon or other affiliates. So thank you guys for all your support, and here's another episode. Infiltrate Radio. All right, you are listening to Infiltrate Radio, and Biz, we are on episode number 50.
50.
And we've decided to go guestless and for all you know, pantsless. We're also pantsless for this episode, Biz.
I didn't know that we agreed on that, but I am indeed pantsless.
Excellent. I figured you were just 90% of the time you were always pantsless anyway. So thank you guys for tuning in. Episode 50. We're getting up there, and we've got some potential production changes that we'll be making as we move forward here. Now that we're at the 50 mark, keep in mind, anyone listening too, we're always looking for sponsors for the show. So if you got a cool product that you want us to talk about or you want us to help you promote, reach out to us, infiltrateradiopodcast@gmail.com, or hit us up on the Facebook page, Infiltrate Radio Podcast, and Instagram, and all the rest of them. So Biz,
I'm not sure where it was grabbing my audio from, because I just plugged in my microphone. Do I sound all right? I'm sorry.
Oh, really?
That.
Yeah, no, you sound good. Maybe it was from the all right. Beats headphones.
Maybe
you get on?
I was thinking either maybe this or I'm not sure though. But I just saw that it was unplugged. I was like, what does this go to? And it tugged at the mic.
I tried to.
Anyway, you were saying.
Yeah. Speaking of sponsors, I tried to get Olo Audio, which they're. I'm kind of a endorser for their headphones in my music side of the business. I tried to get us a couple of free sets of headphones here, but they had run out of the beta units. So, but they're pretty cool. They're like handcrafted wood stuff. So if I end up getting them, Biz, you'll have some nice cans to put on.
Are those the ones you have at your little station up on your second floor there?
Yep. Yeah. They're supposed to be reference monitors. So for like being able to mix and master and do all that kind of stuff. So there's no color to them, no bass, added bass or anything like that. So they sound really cool, and they just look cool because they're all wood. But anyway, let's get to the drinks. What special stuff are we drinking here today, Biz? What do you got?
I hope this is a twist off. This is a since 1953 beverage, a traditional refreshment according to its label. This is a Strumka. I hope I'm saying that correctly. That is a pear flavored drink. It looks like it is a product of North Macedonia.
You're gonna have to send me a picture of that.
Let's hope it's a squeeze cup.
I'm gonna have to try and.
I don't think it's a.
Find it. What is it? Pineapple? You said?
I don't think it's a twist top. It's pear flavored. I don't have a twist top, so I will be using a lighter to get the cap
Can you do
off.
it? Do you
See
know
if
how
I
to do
still
that
have
thing?
I think so. There it goes. Did you hear it?
I heard it fizz. Pear. Have you had it
to go
before?
At it a second
or
ago.
You said you didn't have it?
I have not. I just saw it in the store, and I was like, you know what? We might do a double Infiltrate episode. Let me grab 2 bevies.
I'm interested.
Here we are. Making a fool of myself here, trying to get it open. You can go ahead and talk about your drink, and then we can circle back to mine.
All right. Not caffeinated though, huh?
I came ill-equipped. No, I don't think so. I'll check the label. Oh, got it open. I will check the label here. Let's see. Water, sugar, pear flavoring, potassium, sorbate, sodium, benzate. No, yellow 5.
Huh.
No, it
Crack
doesn't look like it.
cocaine. Is there crack cocaine in it?
Yeah.
All right. Any good?
No,
or
I
is-
hate pears. I hate them. It actually tastes pretty phenomenal, honestly. It's super duper sweet and it's slightly carbonated for sure.
What
but
made you
it's,
get a pear drink?
It's not a
if
bad
you
one.
hate pears.
Honestly, the color, it was such a vibrant color sitting on the shelf, just so pea-like and yellow.
It is awful urine colored. All right. Well, I got a special tea because I'm still on my no alcohol kick. It's a couple of months now, 2 months, 2.5 months.
Yeah, congratulations on that. What was all that about?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna probably have a drink again in the near future. It's just kind of I want to be able to go out, and I don't feel comfortable going out right now. So I feel like just drinking in my house is like, I don't know. You start to feel like an alcoholic when you do that, you know. When you just that's the only
Yeah, no,
thing.
I understand it. Even though I'm not a drinker, I did drink when I was younger, and that was kind of the thing. Is that
Yeah.
like I realized that I would drink by myself right now. That's a problem. I shouldn't drink at all if I'm going to be this way at 17 years old. Have that
Yeah,
mindset.
right.
Let's
Right.
let's quit this now while I'm ahead of it.
Yeah, I think if I'm gonna have a drink, it's not gonna be in in my pajamas with no shoes on. You know what I mean? I'll at least have a dress shirt or something.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Social
something,
drinkers. This is murder for the people that claim to. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm a social drinker.
Right.
Well, how are you still an alcoholic through quarantine?
Right, if you're still still doing it. But I don't know. Yeah, like I said, it's kind of helping my workouts and all that sort of thing too. So
Yeah.
I'm
Does
good
it help
with
your
for now.
mind? Does it help your do you feel more or less mindful than usual?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't drinking to the point of like, you know, like
Pure
so much, but
inebriation?
yeah, but like I definitely feel a difference when I wake up in the morning, like some fogginess is gone. So
Yeah.
at least the days after I would have a drink. So that's good. And you never get a hangover. You're never like, oh shit, I drank a little too much last night. I'm gonna have a hangover, right?
Right.
Not with tea anyway. But we'll see. I'm getting there. I'm trying to drink enough tea where I can wake up and like, oh, what did I drink so much chamomile tea? I can't even walk. But speaking of tea, so I got some weird by Econ or Econe, I guess it's called. I don't actually have the package because my friend David Snyder gave it to me in like a Ziploc bag, like it was drugs.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like drugs.
So I ended up throwing it in because I realized also I don't have like a tea thing, like a tea holder. They're just made
Sifter? Oh,
in a French press. It's
diffuser?
good. It's super light, but I guess it's supposed to be some sort of detox thing.
Okay.
I don't know. Tastes like regular tea to me. It's got a little like cinnamon thing going on.
Hopefully they're not throwing a 1 in front of the price tag and like, hey, this is special tea.
Yeah, I looked it up on Amazon because I'm linking obviously to the stuff that we got, but it's actually not that bad. It's around the same price as like a nice what do you call it, craft tea? Is that what they call teas?
I don't
Artisan?
think I think craft
Artisanal?
is a alcohol thing. I don't know that that's a tea reference.
Artisanal tea? Is that what it is?
Is it? I don't know. I'm not the tea connoisseur that you're making me out to be in this conversation.
I did used to drink actually a lot of tea. They sell these awesome they're like little balls, and it's just tea leaves that they've been kind of like sewn together in a way so that when you put it in a pot of boiling water at like flowers, look it up, like tea flowers, it's crazy. Like it's really actually cool looking. I've gotten a couple that tasted good and some that were like it's okay.
I was never that big. I was never that big on it because that always just made me had a pee so damn bad.
Yeah. Well, that's the caffeinated ones. I mean, I guess if you drink teacup after teacup or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just can't be drinking coffee all the way until 10 o'clock at night anymore. So
I can. I'm
not
not 40.
I'll do the red. Nice easy drop. I'll do like Red Bulls up until like maybe 7 or 8 You know what I mean? And then I gotta lay off of it.
Does it actually give you a problem to try to go to bed? Or are you like just
No, I mean, I'm not feeling like jittery or anything like that. It's just
yeah,
like I want to stay up. My mind is already going a million miles a minute all the time. So like
right,
I've
right.
got to pick a time where I maybe take a melatonin and start to chill my mind out.
Chill out.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'll just be up all night, like, on my computer doing things, writing books and stuff. Which, speaking of, just to put this in, I guess this isn't writing, but this is video and audio logging of a project. So I started the um, the outline, I guess you can say, or the chapter design, the chapter subjects for a new book I'm
Hmm.
gonna be writing. Right now, working title is "The Day I Died Was the Day I Was Born." So there's some cool stuff hopefully coming out. I'm gonna try and do it in a year, write it and edit it at least in a year, and then see if I can get it professionally published somewhere. If not, I'll put it out ebook or whatever. But um, kind of is based upon that dream that I've talked about on the podcast before, where I was dying it and how that kind of started this weird creative journey, I guess I feel like I've been on since that.
Yeah, yeah. What? So is this like complete fiction? Or are you gonna try to base it like? Are you gonna try to shoot it like surrealism, or not shoot it? It's not being made yet. Sorry, I'm jumping the gun. Are you trying to write it in a way that would be more like surrealism, or like
No, it's almost
just
like,
because you mentioned the dream? That's why I ask.
yeah, it's almost like a help not self-help book. How do I explain it? Like, these are things that I've learned in my life over these periods of time, but also told with stories built into it.
Oh, oh,
So
oh.
kind of
Okay.
like the theme of it is like what I learned from having a death experience, even if it was just in a dream, that early on in my life, and how that like led me down a certain way, and then how that it kind of impacted me throughout my life, and the different kind of, I guess, phases of my life as I grew up, how that changed,
Yeah.
um, into now,
Yeah.
and all the life things that have happened to me up until this point. So I guess maybe like a memoir type of situation. Is that what that would be called?
I think that is considered to be like yeah, like a memoir. I think so.
Yeah, like a statement, I guess, on my limited understanding of what life's about. We'll see if anyone
Right.
buys it. But it's meant to be like, the way I've broken down the chapters is meant to be almost like lessons that if someone hasn't learned that about life yet, they can maybe learn it by just reading it and not have to go through the immense amount of hardship and bullshit that it took to get to that lesson.
If only it were that easy.
Yeah. Sometimes it is. Biz, you ever read a good book and come out different on the
And
other side?
learn something from it. Are you kidding? No.
You know what I've done too? That, speaking of books too, because I know a lot of people out there have trouble sitting down and reading a book, especially nowadays. People's attention spans are really short. And what I've taken to do is, because I would like to read a lot more books. Problem is time and the quiet time, especially now with home schooling kids and all the other stuff. You're basically all crammed into a space, living every second of your life together. So to steal, a nice quiet time to read a book, even once you're past 18 years old, I think, and you start having responsibilities and stuff. But audiobooks, and I know you sent me something earlier about potentially doing reading audiobooks for some cash too, which I'm going to definitely send something to. But I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks as I do other things. So I've kind of committed to go from book to book to book. So not reading them, but listening to the audiobook. So I've already this January this year, I've done 1984, which I started doing at the beginning of the year. Unfuck Yourself. Have you heard of that book?
I have.
Unfuck Yourself. So that one, it's actually read by the author, which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
what was the other one? The What We Can Learn from Psychopaths, or something like that was the name of it. Like the
Hmm.
way that the clinical psychopath diagnosis, like what the way that they think, how that can kind of help you succeed. And now I'm on I always forget how to say his first name. Aldous Huxley, the guy who wrote The Doors of Perception, but he wrote a book called A Brave New World, and I'm in the midst of that. So when I'm sitting in the sauna, Biz, I sit there and I listen to audiobooks, and it goes pretty quick. And as a matter of fact, sometimes, when you're reading a book and you kind of drift off, and then you have to go back and reread another 2 pages back, because while you're looking at the page, your mind is drifting during it.
So I'm going to be honest with you. A couple things about what you said. First and foremost, I think people like you and I, we could sit here and say that past 18 years old reading and all that other stuff you said. But I actually know a couple like avid readers that by no means do they judge people, but they're like, if you can make time to watch TV, you can make time to read a book. You just prefer
Sure.
to watch TV over read a book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that there's something to be said in the fact that if you want to read, you can read.
Well, here's something too, though. I mean, there is I mean, if you've got a lot of extra time that you're doing something maybe unproductive or something counterproductive,
Mhm.
then I agree with you. But a lot of my time, man, is just like I've got to spend time with my kids. I've got to spend time with my girlfriend. I've got to do all the different projects I'm doing. The full time day job thing. I've got, I'm working out, and sometimes for an hour and a half, 2 hours a day. And I do, there's just so much time in a day that to squeeze in also sitting down just for the activity of reading a book would, I mean, it would be very hard to do that.
Yeah, no,
So,
I got you.
but I see your point. I agree.
I do find that like summer, and typically when you have time off, that's the ideal time for reading because you know what I mean. While you're sitting there on the porch enjoying the warm weather, why not have a book? You know what I mean? It's easier to squeeze in than when you're in the house, kind of. Unless you have like your own space where like you go off and do work, you could go in that space and read. But you know what I mean? Like people quote unquote bother you while you're trying to read otherwise, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't want to say it in that way, but like it's pretty much a nuisance when you're trying to read someone or something, no matter what, any sort of interruption that someone provides is like, I'm trying to read
Yeah.
this, man. Like
Yeah, because it takes a certain amount of
like
diving,
mental focus.
yeah, mental focus in order to actually be able to get yourself into the story. Where I feel as though the audiobooks have an easier time of letting you jump out and back in. Like
Yeah, because
I
I
get,
mean their tone and everything, it helps kind of immerse you into the
yeah,
story. So even if you have to pause it, your mind doesn't have to readjust to that tone, quote unquote, again.
yeah,
In the book, it automatically happens with the audio version. And that brought me to the other point that you were saying is that like as far as like reading books go and stuff like that, I think that the audio experience offers you a little bit more like character development. Some people don't have a very good imagination. You know what I mean? Some people it is like pulling teeth to read books. So to sit there and hear someone give a book life and you're not reading, you know what I mean? You're hearing someone else read, which is it serves similar benefits, but it's not quite the same. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, and I think that's where like podcasts, why I kind of like this medium quite a bit too,
Yeah.
because regular radio, I got offered a job once, and the pay was really, because I thought it would be a fun job. The pay is really why I turned it down. It
Yeah.
was just not worth. People think people on the radio get paid quite a bit, and unless you're Howard Stern or one of
Guys,
maybe
I
the
mean,
big,
people think the same thing about actors.
yeah,
Like I
three, you're really not getting paid.
do
Actually,
I look like I'm making $1 million? Like I
desk jobs pay a little bit better, probably than most radio
I'd
gigs.
say sometimes. It does vary. Like I guess like being a radio personality, I know that you're kind of you create a brand within yourself. Like Elvis Duran can go to any station, and people know who he is. Same thing with Howard Stern. You know what I mean? They kind of create their own networks a little bit. And I mean, like, it doesn't matter where they are. People are going to tune in. They're going to listen to what they have to say or whatever. But that's not really. I guess you could say it's not really hard for a radio personality to like freelance their work. You know what I mean? Once their voice is known, well, then commercials want them. Voiceover commercials want
Yeah,
them. Animation wants them. They kind of have a self marketing thing, much like actors and entertainers do. You know what I mean? That's
yeah.
that's probably
They say that. Well, I guess to get back on just the point real quick of the podcast, I think why I like them so much too is because it's almost like giving people access to, at least the podcast that I like, a really good conversation, especially now. I think they're getting more downloads, more listens than before, simply because people are spending a lot of time inside by themselves. I mean, I miss going out and having just conversations about, random things with people, and it's almost like you're sitting in on a conversation,
I think it helps also. A lot of people are doing work where they're more isolated. You're not chit chatting with coworkers anymore. And therefore, people that normally listen to music for like I listen to a lot of music when I'm doing a lot of the jobs that I do. But being like socially distanced from people, like even when I do like delivery jobs, it's contactless delivery 98% of the time now. So like you're not really talking to anyone, so no
Yeah.
one's going to interrupt the podcast, because again, like a podcast is like a book to me. It's if I miss what they say, it kind of like I got to bring it back, and that
Yeah.
was the other thing you mentioned, that you sometimes are reading and you have to go back like 2 pages because your mind has wandered. I think that's a very what's the term they use, like a reading comprehension problem
Hmm.
that's not really addressed or honed in on when you're learning how to read. Like you, much like me, probably would complain that like I don't really get what's going on, like on this page, like I gotta reread it, and they're like, oh,
Right.
it's fine, just reread it. Then yeah, they don't really address that's potentially an issue with reading that you could fix if you got under it properly, and
Right.
much like any
Well,
other muscle, exercise it.
when we had which is something I want to do too, like what was your favorite kind of guest moment over the last being that we're on episode 50 now, but
Yeah,
when we had Rambo, Justin Rambo on, was it
just last week.
last week, and he talked about the way that he learns. I think that's something too, which is the whole reason why I brought up the audiobook thing, was to say
Yeah.
that some people's goal is, okay, I'm going to read a book a month or something, or I'm going to read a book a week, and they it's so much time you have to dedicate to that.
Hmm.
Audiobooks are also books. They're just being read to you, and can be read to you while you're doing other things like driving, or working out,
And
or
it's in a timely
whatever.
fashion that they're reading. Some people naturally read slow, some people naturally read fast. I think the other thing to be said about it, again, like podcasts, you could, if you can process listening to someone talk at 1.5 or 2.0 speeds, by all means, click that button a couple times and hear the book twice as fast as it's
Yeah.
meant to be heard. You know what I mean? Like, funny thing actually that segues me into, I used to do that all the time when I became a supervisor at Verizon.
Hmm.
I'd re-listen to the calls at like 2.5 speed, and it would be like an hour long call, and I'd be blazing through it, and I'd go up and talk to one of my colleagues, and I'd talk so fast that they're like, I can't even process what you're saying. Like, what's going on? Like, why are you talking so fast? Like, give me just a minute.
Yeah, if I had a nickel for every time someone said, "Can you slow down for a minute?" when I was just having a
When you talk about things that you know about, it's so natural just to pick up that pace and be like, where'd I lose you, man? At what word? Like,
So let's do this, Biz. What, out of all the guests that we had on, that you've been a part of the show,
yeah.
what was kind of your most interesting guest, would you say?
Um, Interesting wise, as far as like who brought the best conversation to the table, or interesting as far as I can't believe we swung this person.
No, I think the best conversation, because for people listening, you know what I mean?
Best
They
conversation. Yeah.
hold on.
I think listening wise, Johnny's episode was really good. I
Yeah.
think that Aaron Costa from Crudco, his episode was really good. I I feel like the only reason I would want to add a but to it is because I feel like it was really good. But if you're not local to Rochester, the conversation may have fallen on deaf ears a
Mm,
little bit, because we talked a lot about like the infrastructure and the
right.
history of the city a little bit. But I thought that it was a good conversation for anyone that loves Rochester, I guess.
Right, right. Yeah, I agree. I really
How
like
about you?
a Johnny too, just for the conversation that we had, and that was episode 24 for anyone that wants to go back and listen to that hasn't. He's a clothing company owner, but his energy is just really
He's
cool,
just an
and
overall
a
artist as
skateboarder.
well.
Yeah.
Just a lot of his company has done a lot of collaboration work with Halo Boy clothing as well. If you go check out Johnny's clothing brand, Golden Road,
Yeah.
on Instagram, he's got a lot of collaboration work, and he's been doing a lot of work, especially through the pandemic. He's just really such a positive energy, you know, that listening to him talk about anything, the random conversations we had in that you know, the variety of conversation I say that we had in that episode was good. That's why I think that it's definitely up there for me.
Yeah. So definitely Aaron Costa too, just because of his, his energy. But I really like talking to Willie Monroe Jr. And people keep
Yeah.
maybe are wondering why I keep looking up. I've installed a new monitor up above my computer, so I've got
Get
stories up
fancy.
and stuff up there, and then I'm looking at my camera there. So pardon me for that. But so I really liked him. But then one of one of my favorites, which is going to kind of segue into some maybe news stories and why Rochester is kind of out there now. I think that we're hitting some news stories, and it's on the map, is what I can say. And that's obviously I grew up not here, but it's starting to get recognition for a bunch of big things that are happening here in Rochester. So, one of which we had episode 48. We had Michael Richmond and Andrew Robinson on the show. This was what, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago?
I think it was filmed a little longer than that. We had a little off weeks, but yeah, it was a couple weeks back.
I've got, sorry, I've got a video that just started to play. Hold on. Okay. I've got audio running in my headphones here from the article, because the reason I mentioned that episode is because that same professor that we had on, Michael Richmond, was interviewed recently on January 20th, because there was a Harvard professor that found this weird asteroid that is claiming that there's a strong possibility that it might actually be alien aircraft or spacecraft, based upon some things they've been able to discern about it. So he was interviewed, the same gentleman we had on, Michael Richmond from RIT.
Wow.
RIT is observatory on the news recently, and it's kind of all over the place. Excuse me, because of the impact that obviously that might have, and that's a play on words, biz. Impact.
Yeah, that's
asteroid.
I hate it here.
Yeah. So it movie topical, right? But
Yeah.
apparently this thing is shaped really weird, and I wish I would have known that this was coming out, because we did talk about Saturn, the radio waves coming off of, I think it was Saturn or Jupiter, and he had yet to know about it. And this story, I think, came out just a couple of days after we had him on the show or something like.
Yeah, I was lost so
Yeah.
much of that episode, man. Like, and it's crazy. Like, I didn't really realize that the astrophysicist world, they they don't like not dabble with aliens and
Yeah.
that sort of talk. And I understand a little bit more about the alien lore, if you will. I
Yeah.
feel like I could have had more to bring to the conversation, but I didn't want to sound like an idiot. I didn't want to be like, hey, let's talk about conspiracy aliens while you
Right.
guys are talking about the existence of life.
Now, I'm not a big like, aliens coming down and probing us
Oh
kind
yeah, I don't
of
think that's a
guy.
thing, but
I'm more of a, there is some science, and the universe is so gigantic, then the likelihood of there being some sort of life out there, whether it be intelligent, non-intelligent, or something that we couldn't even tell was life, is highly probable in my opinion.
I think that, I mean, consider this as well. Like, don't quote me too crazy on this, but like the existence of ghosts and Bigfoot and all these other things, like, but especially ghosts. I mean, there most religions of ancient, you know, human civilization and most like folklore even talk about like unseen beings, ghosts, spirits, whatever the area calls them, but that could very well be the existence of some sort of other life form that we're not familiar with. You know what I mean? Like human beings, I know we're warlike, we want to take things over. So I think that we personally have never discovered alien life, because I think if we did, we'd try to conquer it and make it fit into a mold that it doesn't necessarily fit in, and that potentially superior race would attack us back. So I don't necessarily think that we've discovered it, but if there are other life forms, I wouldn't say that it's beyond them to have witnessed or kind of known about us,
Yeah.
and they may be a kind of above the thought of, well, we need to conquer them, we need to,
Well,
they're superior, or species, we need to take
Yeah.
them over, we need to take them out of their misery, they're going to do it to themselves, all the ways that
Yeah.
alien overlords are
They're
kind of depicted.
and you can take that as okay, like people in the past or people even now have seen, let's say, ghosts, or they've seen this or that, right?
Yeah.
And you can take that as okay, the ghost stories that you see on TV type of thing, right? Or you can also look at it because okay, is everyone, when you see something in mass, it's my belief that you should take a stronger look at it, especially if tons of people believe something, right? You don't necessarily have to take it at its word or at face value for what it is, but I think it's advantageous to look at why that would happen. Okay, and I'm a firm believer in science, and I've learned enough about things like why I was able to semi kind of keep up with the conversation there and ask sort of, I think they were halfway intelligent questions about stuff, is because it's so complicated, and it's so it when you start to learn about things in astrophysics and on the atomic level, they start to get into these, they always call them like eerie places where
Yeah.
it's not necessarily how cut and dry you would think the universe or everything should behave when it comes to those things. So for instance, things like dimensions, right? People can be thought of as cuckoo for believing in multi dimensions, but there's actually science behind multi dimensions when it comes to things like the Big Bang, where there's theories where there's these planes, these dimensional planes that are kind of waves like that, and when they touch, that's a big bang that happens, and it causes a universe to be
Yeah.
spawned, and it could be infinite. But wait, so my thought is, okay, maybe that could, because I don't believe in the ghost thing in the sense that okay, you have a medium person that, the psychic that talks to ghosts, or
Well,
that
even in
your
the sense that, like,
grandma comes back.
if a ghost is
But wait, let
there
me
and you
finish.
see it as your
Let me finish it.
grandma,
Hold on, Biz. Let me finish
go
the
ahead.
thought. So my thought is, okay, there could be some visual phenomenon that happen potentially that are caused by the maybe happenings of the dimensions being by each other, and the fact that there can be an infinite amount potentially of worlds out there, and if there's an infinite amount, then it has to be that there are duplicates that have happened if it's in fact infinite. And so there's some I can let my mind go there. Same, and I think this comes again as I get older, Biz, because in my earlier days I would fight against things I would consider to be illogical,
Whoa.
illogical, or sorry about that,
You're good.
like illogical, or um, kind of like storybook, like taking religion in that sense. And as I grow older, I take a bigger look, and I think it's a matter of allowing myself to realize that I really don't know that much, and not everyone is um, not everyone that says things that on the surface don't appear to be factual or true is coming from a place that there is not evidence to what they're saying, and that maybe I just don't understand where they're coming from with that. Does that make sense? So so I don't have the experiences that they've had that have led to them to come to that conclusion, and
Yeah.
perhaps they're saying their idea in a way that I can't actually, I'm not understanding what they really mean. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
I No, no,
They're
I
not
get
good
you.
orators, they're not good storytellers in the
No,
way
no,
that I
and
can't I
I
can't
think that
picture
that
their
plays
point of view.
into what I was saying too, is that if someone sees a quote unquote ghost and they're like, I swear it was definitely my grandmother. I mean, like, people are mistaken a lot of times. How many times do you see someone on the street, you swear you know them, and it's not really them. So I was gonna say that, just because someone is saying like, hey, this is what I saw, people's interpretation of what they witness isn't always that great. You know what I mean? Some people just don't describe what they see well. Some people change what they thought they saw. I mean, it's like recorded that eyewitness testimony is like one of the
Oh
least
yeah.
reliable, you know. Uh, but I think to what you're saying too, like the phenomenon of what people are seeing and what they interpret it as, I mean, that's the age-old thing about perception, man. You know what I mean? Reality is literally what you make of it. You know what I mean? You can't tell someone that's, you know, microdose themselves into a stupor that they, you know what I mean, what
Yeah.
they're seeing isn't reality, but at the
Well,
same time, we're
what's
not
fun.
in that same reality with them, you know?
What's funny is that the concepts that that I guess a lot of stoners come up with when they when they're smoking the weeds, the pots, and you hear
Yeah.
conversations about, you know, oh, perception, it's all in your mind, that those sort of concepts that can be like hippy dippy type of vibes to them actually has some grounding in quantum physics, where
Right.
there's the um, I forget what it is. You send a proton or something through a slit in, let's say, a piece of paper, and there's something on the back of it, and if you're observing it, it goes through there and hits it as a point. However, if you're not observing it, it's a wave with potential to hit every point behind it. So it's
Yeah.
actually a matter of whether or not perception is happening, and what they've determined too is on the atomic level, like you know, the electrons and stuff that are traveling around the nucleus are acting the same way. They're not individual particles like orbiting like planets around a sun. They're actually waves, so they potentially could be everywhere there. It's almost, you got to think of it more like a cloud of
Yeah.
potential around the nucleus than little, you know, little dots around it.
Right. Right.
So the actual perception of it is what makes it reality or not, which is crazy to think about. Like, because it's such a, you know, a thing that you would not give any credence to if you
Oh,
thought about it
bro.
in the right, in the, you know, in the, oh, that guy, you know, like some guy has a weed T-shirt on and he says it, and you're like, this guy's a fucking idiot. I'm not going to give him any credence, but there's actually some scientific theory that could potentially give some weight or meat to that kind of thought. So anyway, I thought I'd want to bring that up because it ties into Rochester.
Mhm.
He started talking about the fact that there could be potentially alien spacecraft. He said it's something like a solar sail, potentially could be what it looks like, which
Interesting.
and it's because of the weird shape to it, and then because when it went around the sun, because it took a trajectory like an orbit, and then flew out from the sun in a way that it shouldn't have, meaning that there was
Interesting.
some sort of propulsion, which could be caused by, as it gets closer to the sun, ice melting could actually act as a propulsion thing to move it more. But they said that none of that was witnessed, or it could be something that was actually intentional. It's a propulsion device that causes it to move out. So it was going in a different trajectory than technically or mathematically it should be, which is what led them to think that. So
Interesting. Interesting.
yeah, man. And then, so have you gotten hit by the storm? Because today,
No, I think I think I got alerts that it's supposed to snow. You mean the snow, right?
yeah, it's like the whole East Coast is supposed to be 2 feet in
Oh
some
yeah, no, I think
regions.
I'm exempt from that actually.
Are
It's funny
you?
you
You're
asked.
exempt?
Yeah, well, no, you guys did I see this? We're not that far from each other. It's the whole East Coast. I mean,
That's true. That's
no,
true.
it skips my house, you know.
um, yeah, so hopefully everyone stays safe and warm out there.
Hunkers down, yeah.
But let's talk about another sad story here, Biz. Dustin Diamond Screech, unsaved by the bell, has passed away today.
Yeah,
Screech.
I was a little shocked about it. Honestly, I the last thing I remember seeing him in really was like a long time ago. It
He
was
made a
like when they
sex
did that
tape, apparently.
celebrity. Remember that? Oh, I did know about that. But I remember the celebrity boxing they used to do, like
Yep,
the
yep.
early 2000. I remember he was in that. I feel like I saw him in a handful of other things after that too, but
Mm.
no, I didn't know. It was actually Tiffany Thiessen's post today that I saw that even included me in. Not being on
Oh, really?
Facebook really disconnects you from pop culture.
It really does. Yeah, man. I've tried to like, I delete the app and then I reinstall it when I have to post something because I kind of got to keep this thing going on and all that stuff. So I just don't like having it on my phone because I find myself, you know, habitually checking it if it's there.
I mean, social media is a crazy thing. Like not to completely bridge what we just left from, but I learned the most uh, practical way to understand like third and fourth dimensional type of stuff from this like 22-year-old like astrophysicist on YouTube. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like it is a great medium to connect and to get knowledge. It's just the balance of consumption, really. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
consuming too much of it makes it so that you start consuming too much garbage. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's less good and it becomes more bad. But if you're careful about it and you're strategic about it, there is good to be had there, you know?
Yeah, yeah, no, I 100% agree, and that's where some of the stuff like audiobooks and podcasts, sometimes I'll do it
Yeah.
on YouTube, which I don't like. Every other video app
Hmm.
seems to give you the ability to do like picture in picture on your phone, so that you could do other things. For whatever reason, YouTube's app on the iPhone doesn't let you do that,
Well,
so you can't
it's
like
not
go.
just the iPhone. And I think it's YouTube used to have this workaround you could do to get around that. If you went to the YouTube website,
Hmm,
you could minimize it and it would continue to play even though
right.
the video wasn't showing. And I think YouTube caught wind of that and they were like, "Hey, you guys want to do that? Well, we're going to capitalize on that. Create YouTube Red, and now you can
Ah.
do that if you pay for it." So now that picture in picture has come around to the iPhones, and it's been around on Android for a while, but same thing goes. If you don't pay for YouTube Red, as soon as you close the app,
Hmm,
everything shuts down on YouTube. So they kind of capitalized on it before the phones realized, like, hey, let's allow them to do this. And again, that workaround that used to be if you go through the web browser and everything, I remember that YouTube specifically made it so that no matter what, if you try to go through the website, you can't play anything without downloading the app,
huh.
which it didn't always used to be that way.
So
When I first got my iPhone, it wasn't
well,
like that.
when you say download, you mean just offline, right? Like have it be able to be accessible offline.
Did I say download?
Yeah, I think you said download,
Oh well, I
right?
I mean you don't download anything from YouTube. I didn't mean to say download.
Or do you? No, I think you're allowed to do that. I know there's a download button on some of the. Sometimes I've seen it, but
Interesting. I
I
didn't know that
agree
you
that
could save anything from YouTube without
yeah,
like screen recording it.
maybe I don't know. Don't quote me on that. YouTube's gonna kick us off YouTube.
No, no, I'm already quoting you on it. It's already been quoted. We're getting hate mail for about you.
But yeah, I mean, I've done so much. Like I said, some of the audiobooks and things that are available out there, like podcasts and what have you, on
Hmm.
YouTube, I've found actually very helpful, and it's free. So I'm not a school guy. I'm not a sit down and read, a book kind of person. I
Hmm.
mean, don't get me wrong, I have like books, but I like books that are like candy to your brain, if that makes sense. So I like Jack Kerouac a lot,
Hmm.
because you could start reading. It's almost like jazz, the way he writes.
Hmm.
So it's like you're reading, but it's not really reading. It's almost like you're listening to music by reading words. Like I could read poetry books, whole books. I mean, I've read obviously a lot of them, but um, I don't know. I gravitate towards books like that. And then I just find it easier to listen to long form
Yeah.
stories like over days and days better on an audiobook. But
I like to be immersed into like a world, a lore, if you will. And
right,
young adult movies tend to do it the best, or not movies, books.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, I really enjoyed like the series of unfortunate events. Obviously, the Harry Potters, the Hunger Games. Doesn't always have to be like that dystopian weird vibe, but I like when there's like a universe, things to learn, things to remember. Oh, remember when that tied back into that? You know what I mean? Kind of the same appeal that like the Grand Theft Auto games have for me, and like the Quentin Tarantino films. They kind of put you into a world where they're like, hey, everything you know about the standard of living is completely different than what you think. It's this actually. But again, not always in that like governmental dystopian sort of
right,
vibe. Just kind of immerse you into a this is the world. The sky's always purple. When it turns blue, it means there's a storm coming. You know what I mean? That kind of.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. Speaking of dystopian, um, how do you feel? Are you signed up, or has anyone gotten the vaccine yet for the
What,
coronavirus?
what kind of segue was
Well,
I'm not
we're
okay with
in the
that, but
dystopian future, right?
um honestly, I know a lot of people that are like, "Hey, let me know when you get your vaccine," but I'm not getting it.
Yeah. You're not going to get it? No?
No, I'm saying that's how I know a lot of people. I mean, like
Uh,
I honestly I got vaccines when I was young enough to not say whether or not I wanted to be
hmm.
vaccinated. And not that I'm opposed to vaccines, but at the same time, I, like I'm not opposed to getting the vaccine. But again, all the vaccines I got were mandatory to go to school and stuff like that. So like I don't ever go, not that I don't ever go to the doctor. I go like every couple of years for like a physical, make sure I'm not like dying or whatever. But like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's I may get one, but it might be 5 years from now the next time I go to the doctor. So I don't know. The need for it, I feel like will probably come about because being in the entertainment industry, you have to kind of like
Yeah, you'll have to be.
constantly prove that you've been clear of COVID. So it might come up that it's more beneficial to do it for that. But
Yeah.
honestly, I don't foresee any,
No, you got to go to the
waiting in any
doctor,
lines or
Biz.
signing up for it.
Yeah, I think that I am going to be traveling quite a bit, so waiting is probably not going to be when I have the opportunity to get it. I'll definitely be getting it.
Yeah,
Um,
and if you're a high travel person, you know what I mean, especially if you're going to be traveling out of the country or even into areas that don't have
what
the
I
same precautions in place. Like we live in an area that our grocery store still wipe down the handrails and shit like that when you're in Wegmans. You know
yeah,
what I mean? We're in an area that's very cautious and very aware of
I
let's try to
heard
keep it clean.
I heard today that the which surprised me actually because I was in the same line of thinking as the where the source where I heard it from, that it would prevent, if you had the vaccine, then it would prevent you from potentially being able to transmit it to someone else.
Hmm.
That apparently is not the case with the way that it works. Essentially, you could get it, your body would fight it off, and you would not have any symptoms from it. However, you could still have it and give it to someone else, even though you were technically you would never get any symptoms from even after you've had the vaccine.
Well, yeah, I mean that's
So
the general case with that's how herd immunity ends up working because once enough people are vaccinated, the germs are out there and what have you. They're just not able to infect people at a rapid enough rate or
yeah,
connect with enough people to get to someone who's unvaccinated.
but
But
anyway, I'd being that I'm going to be traveling all over the place too, and probably
yeah,
I'm not in the high risk category. It's very likely that I'd be able to friggin' carry it somewhere and someone would get sick from me, and I'd never forgive myself.
right,
Um,
right.
so yeah, I mean that's all the news stories I have here to talk about, but we can get into other topics as well. I want to know, um, as we move forward here to the way I'd like to approach this podcast. I think I really enjoyed going on site for Seed and Stone. I
Hmm.
think as the world opens up, going out and doing that, if not only for the fact that it would be fun for us to do them remotely, um, but for some of the businesses, it might be helpful too to have us there, kind of causing a little commotion.
A little
Uh,
uproar.
yeah, for some of those businesses, you know what I mean, to
These aren't
have
good words
them
to
there.
describe two people coming in to film a podcast for
Well, you know
your
me, I
business.
get a little rowdy. Um, but I'd like to kind of go in that direction, and I want to know if anyone's listening to, what kind of guests you guys would like to hear and see more of. Because I know who I'd like to speak to, and that's in general what we end up doing, is just reaching out to people that I find interesting and Biz
Yeah.
finds interesting, and getting them on the show. So please let us know, infiltrate radio podcast at gmail.com. If you have any guest suggestions that would be willing to come on and have a conversation with us.
Please
Um,
provide us their contact info if you have it, or maybe the easiest way you know that they reach out or respond to people.
um, and I'd like to just thank everyone that listens and subscribes and all that for tuning in with us almost every week, about every week, right, Biz? Give
Yeah,
or take.
I mean we record it every week. I don't know if it gets released every week. We got to talk to our distributor about that.
Yeah,
But
give or take every week. But we thank you, and again, anything we link to, it's helpful if you click on those. So please help us out, and if you're going to buy any of this stuff anyway, go ahead and click on it and buy it through our link, and it'll help support the show. I was in some talks about kind of a cool project to team up with some other podcasts, not only locally but across the country too. So that might be news maybe that comes in the next couple of months here. But again, thank you everyone for listening. We're on episode friggin' 50. We've got an awesome guest. Who do we got next week, Biz? Do you know off the top of your
I believe next
head
was
there?
Colin.
Yes, Colin. Um,
Colin Errand, yeah.
so we'll have him on next week. And Biz and I just really wanted to have a little one-on-one action with our listeners here this week for episode 50. So, and say thank you. And I think that, this has helped me get through some of the quarantine, and I hope that it has helped some other people get through at least an hour a week, a little over an hour a week of their quarantine. Anything you
Right.
got to say for yourself, Biz?
No, I mean, I've loved doing this. I mean, honestly, when you first approached me about like being the co-host or whatever, I was kind of like, I'm not really doing anything on Monday, so yeah, why not? Like, it's a way to keep me in the entertainment limelight, I guess.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna hear me every week, even if it's just my wife. But
Yeah. Well,
I think that it's cool if we have people that are listening that are, you know what I mean, getting inspired or even getting a laugh out of anything that we've scratched on. I think it's worth it. You know what I mean? It's not very, extraneous for either of us to do this. So I think if it's bringing someone some joy and some
Yeah.
entertainment, that's what I'm here for.
And I think that's kind of the key to this what we're doing here too. I mean, it's pretty relaxed. We have kind of a weekly schedule. We do it every week, but you can tell by the backdrop I'm not killing myself for setup and business backdrop, right? But we're gonna step up the production game a little bit, but it allows us to kind of be really relaxed and do things and talk to people that we really want to talk to about what they're doing in not only Rochester but across the world. Really, I think getting some more international guests too. I'd really like to talk to more people in Europe and abroad. So
Yeah, and we do most of these via Zoom now.
yeah,
So I think that's not even an obstacle.
yeah, that's been a good thing that's come out of the quarantine, because we used to, I mean, we were doing them all live, right? So
Right.
it's I think I did 1 or 2 remote sessions before quarantine happened, and now pretty much every episode for the last, I don't know, 15 have been remote. So we've gotten relatively good at doing this, and I think the ability to capture the video and stuff is cheap enough where we can do a YouTube video too and have that out at the same time. So yeah, stay tuned for more. We're going to have lots of freaking cool guests in this upcoming year. And
Yeah, we are.
Just thank you again for everyone listening.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
So we're going to wrap it up. I'm not going to go drink champagne, but I'll say we're going to go drink some champagne and celebrate episode 50. And we will talk to you guys next week.
As always, I'm Patrick Joanne.
Yep, and I'm Biz LaChance, and you're listening to Infiltrate Radio.
Infiltrate Radio.